NASCAR is shaken up, and December 18, 2024, will be recognized as a pivotal day in its history. A landmark court verdict by Judge Kenneth D has shone a bright light on the world of stock car racing. This day included a surprise legal victory for two NASCAR teams, 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports. But NASCAR is not letting go that easily, as they're hitting back hard at the teams, making sure they know their wrath. Could this end up tears? Let us now turn our attention to Judge Kenneth D historic decision. On December 18th, Judge Bell pronounced NASCAR a monopoly. Let that settle in for a moment. A famous judge has formally declared NASCAR, the cornerstone of stock car racing, to be monopolistic. This announcement has led to shockwaves throughout the racing community, social media, and beyond. The verdict stemmed from a lawsuit filed by 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports, two teams who dared to question NASCAR's authority. Before we get into the matter, let's define a monopoly. A monopoly occurs when one firm or organization has complete control over a market or industry, leaving no possibility for competition. In this case, NASCAR was ruled a monopoly because it is the sole significant league for stock car racing. There are no other options for teams and drivers who want to compete at the highest level. The judge's finding largely confirmed NASCAR's status as the sole authority in this industry. The legal struggle began after 2311. Racing and Front Row Motorsports declined to sign a new charter agreement for the 2025 season. This agreement is an important part of NASCAR because it establishes teams' rights and duties, including their ability to race under a charter. A charter ensures a team's participation in races, offering financial stability and sponsorship opportunities. However, the new deal did not sit well with these two teams, pushing them to seek legal redress. 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports challenged NASCAR of monopolistic activities, claiming that the organization's domination over the sport forced them to comply with onerous terms. They argued that NASCAR's charter structure was unjust and restrictive. In response, the teams requested a preliminary injunction, which would allow them to race with charters in 2025 without signing the new deal. Essentially, they intended to compete on their own terms while still challenging NASCAR's authority in court. Judge Bell agreed with the teams, stating that NASCAR is a monopoly. This judgment has significance because it questions how the sport has been managed for decades. NASCAR has long been the dominating force in stock car racing, but this decision opens the door to prospective changes in the industry's structure. It also raises doubts about the sport's future evolution. What makes this situation even more intriguing is the reaction of NASCAR fans. Many longtime fans have been outspoken opponents of NASCAR, criticizing the changes that have transpired over the years. They yearn for the golden days of racing and frequently express dissatisfaction with the current situation of the sport. However, when 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports decided to confront NASCAR, these same supporters appeared to be upset with the team's conduct. Despite their numerous concerns, they appear to have a strong attachment to NASCAR. This contradiction exemplifies the complicated relationship between fans and the sport they like. Now take a time to consider why we might feel this way. For many, NASCAR represents tradition and nostalgia. It's a link to their past, a sport that has influenced their lives for generations. While they may criticize it, they do not wish to see it abolished or profoundly altered. This emotional attachment results in a phenomenon in which fans criticize and defend NASCAR depending on the circumstances. Let us simplify the litigation for individuals who may not be familiar with all of the legal terminology. Assume you're playing a game in which the organizer sets all of the rules. If you don't like the rules, there's no other game to play. That was essentially what 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports faced. NASCAR, as the only major stock car racing association, has the authority to define the terms for all participants. The teams believed the terms were unjust and chose to fight back. While the judge's decision is a huge victory for the teams, it should be noted that this is only the beginning. The matter will most certainly continue to unfold, with other court battles ahead. The preliminary injunction allows the teams to compete in 2025, but it does not address the underlying issue of NASCAR's monopolistic behavior. However, this verdict has established a precedent that may lead to changes in the way the sport is governed. This case also highlights the business side of NASCAR. Behind the exhilarating races and roaring motors is a complicated network of contracts, sponsorships, and financial considerations. The charter system is an excellent example of this, as it directly affects teams' capacity to compete and thrive. By challenging the system, 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports are not only fighting for their rights, but also shedding focus on larger faults in the sport. The key issue in this case is money. NASCAR controls the sport, including how much revenue is distributed to the teams. Over the years, some team owners thought they were not receiving a fair share. NASCAR, on the other hand, claims to have already worked on increasing the team's compensation and believes they have done enough. NASCAR reportedly spent 2 years haggling with team owners before making a final offer. They instructed the teams to either accept the offer or move on. Some longtime team owners, such as Richard Childress and Rick Hendrick, signed the agreement and decided not to fight. However, others, including 23XI Racing, refused to back down. Michael Jordan is a warrior by nature. He wasn't willing to settle for less, especially since he thought the teams deserved more. 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports have chosen to take NASCAR to court. Many individuals considered this a hazardous decision. NASCAR has a lengthy record of winning legal challenges. They are noted for having powerful connections, including some in Washington, D.C. Over the years, this power has helped NASCAR ensure that they always win in every argument. But this time, things did not go as planned. Judge Bell's decision sent shockwaves throughout the racing community. A prominent NASCAR executive allegedly called the verdict in a single word: stunning. This anger is understandable given that the verdict undermines NASCAR's authority in a way that no one has previously. The judge even described NASCAR as a monopoly, which is a significant indictment. A monopoly occurs when one entity exerts excessive control over an industry, leaving little possibility for competition or justice. This branding could have even more serious ramifications for NASCAR in the future. But why is this ruling so important? For starters, it establishes a precedent. This means that other teams or groups may feel more confidence in confronting NASCAR in the future. It also pushes NASCAR to reconsider how it handles its relationships with team owners. The verdict is effectively a request for NASCAR to return to the negotiating table and reach a more equitable agreement. The clubs are not asking for complete control. Rather, they want a larger share of the money. This could result in big changes to the way the sport is managed and money distributed. Another reason why this decision is important is the message it sends to everyone involved with NASCAR. For decades, NASCAR faced little pushback. They made decisions and everyone complied. This court case demonstrates how times are changing. Team owners, drivers, and even fans are speaking out more about their expectations from the sport. Michael Jordan and 23XI Racing's success demonstrates that speaking out for what you believe in can result in meaningful change, even in a strong institution like NASCAR. It is also worth noting the cultural significance of this case. NASCAR has always been a sport steeped in tradition. However, the sport evolves in tandem with the changing globe. Newer team owners, such as Michael Jordan, bring fresh viewpoints and ideas. They disrupt traditional methods of doing things and advocate for reform. This court lawsuit is only one illustration of how these developments are transforming NASCAR. Will they make an effort to re-establish trust between the teams? Will they double down and battle harder in court? Regardless, the next year or two will be vital to the sport's future. The December 18th ruling represents more than simply a legal triumph for 23XI Racing and Front Row Motorsports. It marks a watershed moment in NASCAR's history. It disrupts the status quo, invites new dialogue, and demonstrates that even the most powerful corporations can be held accountable. We're excited to see what NASCAR has to bring in 2025, but one thing is certain: the case will continue to go on for a while. What do you think? Will the teams and NASCAR be able to come to a conclusion, or will this be a court case for years to come? Let me know what you think in the comments down below.